Here is my hand, here is my hand, catch, 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 catch the fire and live. Why do we have both these things on either side of the stage? I mean, aesthetically? This and that, because instead of having this here, because each time the first time I got on stage, you know, Larry Neal and Baraka were doing a reading in Harlem, and they invited me to come along, and I had never done that. I mean, I'd done it at a political thing, but I'd never done it with this bunch of poets. And when it was time, when the curtain got ready to open, I turned to Larry and said, I'm not going to do that. I can't do it. And Larry literally pushed me on stage. Go on, Sonia. And it opened. So what I did is that I was so nervous, I started to walk the stage. You know, so I walked the poem. You know, I thought if I walk it, people would follow me with their eyes, and then also I would then have the rhythm. You know, also the poem. Are you saying I can't do that? What I did before, which was like walking here. You're saying that I only can walk back here behind this? Question. But I always heard the music of a poem from the moment that I wrote it. I just never had the courage initially to sing a poem or to do all the things that I thought the poem required, from, you know, stamping the feet, you know, clapping, you know, what I do now. Full Moon of Sonia came out because we would have not only poetry and song and music, but dance also, and we would have me reciting the poetry with someone singing a song, you know. So that was the whole concept of that. I did some sets with Max Roach and Odine Pope and a bunch of people, and so they came out, and Archie Shepp came right next to me and went, I couldn't read the poem right, and I was going to the store, so he went, I said, I was going, you know, I started doing what he was doing. Came and started playing the boom, a boom, 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 and I had to change up again. It was an amazing moment for me. And working with musicians made me truly understand that this body was indeed an instrument for music, and that I could then release it, you know, make the hands go, make the body go, make the mouth go, make the tongue click.
Tonight, a legend. Tonight, a living, breathing legend. The full moon of Sonia. Sonia, Sonia.
I have walked a long time, much longer than death that splinters with the innuendos. My life, my alien life, is like an echo of nostalgia, bringing blue strings to very clouds, rinsing white stones stretched among the sea, rinsing white stones stretched among the sea. You man, will you remember me when I die? Will you stare and stain my death and say, I saw her dancing among swallows, far from the world's obscenities? You man, will you remember and cry? And I have not loved. Always while the body prowls, the soul catalogs its death, while the unconscious unbridles feast, the flesh knocks toward the shore. I have not loved with legs stretched like stalks against sheets, with stomachs straining the piracy of oceans, with mouths discarding the gelatin to shake the sharp self. You man, will you remember me when I die? Will you stare and stain my death and say, I saw her dancing among swallows, far from the world's obscenities? I have walked by memory of others, between the bloodlight and twilights. I have lived in tunnels and fed the bloodless fish. Between the yellow rain and ash, I have heard the rattle of my sea. So time, like some pearl necklace embracing a superior whore, converges, and the swift spider binds my breast, and the swift spider binds my breast. You man, Will you remember me when I die? Will you stare and stain my death and say I saw her applauding sons far from the grandiose audience? You man, will you remember and cry? Because I was an ex-stutterer, I thought it was always important to almost explain a poem or say something about a poem, and then also then read it in such a way so there would be no question about what was being said. I started writing when I was a little girl, after my grandmother died. You know, my mother died when I was 1, giving birth to twins. And then my grandmother came and picked up me and my sister, and she took care of us until I was 6. I was a terrible little child, let me tell you. But she let me be terrible. I was a tomboy. I climbed trees. I would hang out with the boys. You know, I came in the house dirty. My sister came in the house perfection, clean, 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 you know. I used to ask her, what do you do? I know you don't play outdoors. But Mama would tell the aunts, when they said, oh, Sonia's just dirty. Look at her. Her braids are out, and she doesn't. She plays. She climbs trees. She's just not going to be a lady, you know, which has some, you know, merit as I grew older. And Mama said, just let the girl be. My grandmother always took a nap during the day, and I would always wake her up, and I did it by bursting into the room, open the door, saying "Mama," and leaping on the bed, literally, and I'd jump over her body. I'd jump from one side and got high and jump back and down and say, "Mama, Mama, you time to get up. Mama, Mama, time to get up. Mama, time to get up." And Mama, I looked and she didn't move, and so I then turned around and still jumping, leaped over the back of the bed and hit the floor with a thud, and then went running out. And as I went through the living room, I said to my aunts, Mama didn't wake up, she's not moving, you know, and I went zoom out the house, out the door. And that was the last time I saw my grandmother because she was dead. And the terrible thing is that they wouldn't let us go to the funeral. And so I started to write these little ditties, and I also began stuttering. I'm the child that, you know, when I finally got I out and everybody looked up. And I was also, you know, before that I was tongue-tied. I spoke so fast. I was in a hell of a combination. I spoke so fast before this, I would always stumble over my tongue. So I used to say, she's tongue-tied, she's tongue-tied. And then Mom would say, no, she ain't. You know, she's just trying to say it fast.
The song of the people. She be Will Sonia. She be Will. She be golden lady, like a honeybee. She be a poem, a poem, a poem, a poem, a poem in progress. She be Sonia.
My dad he was a school teacher, owned a juke joint, and was a musician. My father was married again after my mom died. She's the stepmother who locked me in the closet for 24 hours. And I had a great struggle then against being in closed spaces. I don't know, didn't matter. You know, you do something, she'd put you in the closet. And she beat us also, too. Because you died when I was 6, Mama, I never laughed like that again. Because you died without warning, Mama, my sister and I moved from family to stepmother to friend of the family. I never felt your warmth again. But I knew corners and alcoves and closets where I was pushed when some mad woman went out of control, where I sat for days while some woman raved in rhymes about unwanted children and work and not enough money or love. And I set out my childhood with stutters and poems gathered in my head like some winter storm. And the poems erased the stutters and pain, and the words loved me, and I loved them in return. A poem for my father. How sad it must be to love so many women, to need so many black perfumed bodies weeping underneath you,
When I remember all those nights, I filled my mind with long wars between short-sighted Trojans and Greeks, while you slapped some wide hips about in your private dungeon. When I remember your deformity, I want to do something about your makeshift manhood, I guess. That is why on meeting your sixth wife, I crossed myself with her confessionals. That's the first poem I wrote to my father. And it was a hard poem, really. It's a kind of mean poem. My father never mentioned that poem at all to me. I didn't realize I was going to give birth to twins, but I remember after I had given birth to twins, I called my dad to tell him, and I told him, Dad, I gave birth to twin boys, and he started to cry over the telephone. And I remembered that my mom had died giving birth to twins, and I had forgotten that, during all the time I was pregnant, because I didn't know I was pregnant with twins. And my father told a story about this Southern band. They were the jazz all-stars in the South, and they traveled in the South in the summertime playing jazz. And they were at one place, and the men were always angry at them because they were a good-looking group of black men. And all the women gravitated to, all these white women used to gravitate towards the stage. And so one of these guys got up and said, "Play Dixie, play Dixie." And the men froze on that stage. Not one of them moved. And my father came and sat back down at his drums and went, da-dun-dun-dun, 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 Dixie, da-dun, da-dun, da-dun-dun-dun, da-da-da. And he got up and started packing up. He had played the song Dixie, and he had satisfied, that hunger that that man had to put these black men into their place. And when I heard it, when he told it to me as a teenager, I looked at him and thought, oh gosh, that was terrible, what a real Tom he was. And then he tells the same story to my twins in my house in Philadelphia, and I come and stand in the doorway and listen to him tell that story, and I listen to my children listening to their grandfather tell them some history and herstory. And I thought, what a brave thing to do, to sit down amid all the stillness of all the other musicians and to play dun-dun-dun, 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 and get up and pack up his drums and get off the stage with the rest of the musicians. I thought how brave he was to have done that.
How long? How long? How much more long? How long? I wanna know how much more longer am I just gonna have to wait on you?
In the night, in my half-hour Negro dreams, I hear voices knocking at the door. I see walls dripping screams up and down the halls. Won't somebody open the door for me? Won't somebody schedule my sleep? And don't ask no questions. Noise. Noise, noise, noise. Like when he took me to his home, away from home place, and I died. The long sought after death he planned for me. Yeah, Bessie, he put in the bacon and it overflowed the pot. And 2 days later, when I was talking, I started to grin. As everybody knows, I am still grinning.
shall I tell you of him, of Bubba, young man of Harlem, Bubba, of filling stations and handball games, of summer bongo playing, of gangbangs, of strict laughter pierced in the dark, long summers that kept us peeled across stoops looking for air, Bubba, of gangs who pimped a long walk against Harlem and decided who would pass and who would be stopped at the gateway of life. Bubba, black as a panther. Bubba, whose teeth shone like diamonds while he smiled at us from across his dominion, who stretched his legs until they snapped in two when his days became shorter and school sent him out among the world of push carts and do-rags of 7th Avenue. Bubba, who gave up his genius to the temper of the time, while I marched off to Hunter College in the realm of Park Avenue, while I read sociology texts that reminded us few blacks that we were the aberrations of the world. Bubba and others marched off to days of living in the country that said, I'm the greatest hustler in the world, so don't come downtown trying to hustle me, hustle your own. And he did. He sniffled, wanna play some handball, and I waited with him on that bench, watch the sun go down. Bubba, Bubba, I said, there she is, your old friend the moon, coming out just for you. He pulled himself up off the bench, stood up with the last breath of a dying man. How about a few bucks, girls? Gotta see a man about something. Gotta see a man about something. I handed him $20. He scratched his legs and nodded goodbye. Bubba, 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 if you hadn't fallen off that roof in 57, you would have loved the 60s. Bubba, you would have loved Malcolm. You would have plucked the light from his eyes and finally seen the world in focus. Bubba, 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 your footsteps sing around my waist each day. I will not let the country settle into the sleep of the innocent. Bubba, Bubba, Harlem, Harlem, Bubba, Bubba.
Turn me round.
I was New York Core, civil rights.
Turn me round, keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up.
We picketed the TV stations, you know, when those southern mayors came into town and governors came into town. We almost got hurt down there again around the TV station because they sent their policemen on horseback at us, and we literally had to dive for safety.
Talking, yeah, marching up to freedom. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse load him. Turn me round, turn me round.
We picketed all out on the island, you know, trying to open up those the housing for blacks, and all those housing that had been built with federal money, you know, jumping up and down at night, you know, singing and picketing, and people coming by cursing at us because we were trying to open it up. How people were lost going to prison and nobody even thinks about them today or calls their name. And that's why when I do a litany of names, I call the names of those brothers still in prison. And I call the name of a Sata, a Finney. I call the names. Mosley, Archbishop Tutu, John Henry Clark, Bob Moses, Queen Mother Moore, Septima Clark, Esker Infahileli, Bobby Sands, Patrick Hill, Ron Daniels, Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, Grace Paley, Allen Ginsberg, Paul Blackburn, George Lamming, Pam Africa, Ramona Africa, Art Tatum, Kenny Gamble, John Killens, Julian Bond, Trudy Pitts, Diop, Dizzy, Dick Gregory, Harry Belafonte, Langston Hughes, W.B. Du Bois, Chinua Achebe, Ben Davis, William Patterson, Toussaint Dessalines, Harriet Tubman, Sandino, Monroe Trotter, Edward Said, Vincent and Rosemary Harding, Nzinga, Marcus Garvey, Paul Robeson, Lumumba, Kwame Ture, Chuck D, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Johnetta Cole,
Wu, Chairman Mao, Nina Simone, Sun Ra, Injuri, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Adrian Rich, I think one of the most important things we did for New York Core was open up the unions. People don't remember that the unions were closed. And they tried to build an extension to Harlem Hospital. And someone called me and said, get there to Harlem Hospital. We're going to throw a picket line around there. We're not going to let them build that extension. And lo and behold, we all showed up there. And my father lived at 135th Street and Lenox Terrace, and he heard all this singing down there, "We shall not be moved," and all that stuff. And then we got wicked. We moved the picket line into the street, so that means we stopped traffic. And that's when it got tough. One of the first black captains was being driven to work, you know, because, you know, they had that station, the police station over there. And he saw the coming confrontation, and he had his driver drive in between. But I will never forget, he didn't say to his policeman, "You shouldn't advance, right, towards these people, you know, on horseback." He got out the car and said, "What do you people want?" Looking at us. And the brother who was leading, I can't think of the brother's name now, said, "We want to integrate these unions," you know. He said, "Well, take it downtown, go downtown, you know, whatever." And so we did. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, the union said, "Okay, give us some names." Well, this is how young we were. We didn't have any names. You know, they came outside, because I was sitting outside after listening. I was just sitting there really so tired. "You got a name, Sonia?" And I'm sitting there saying, "Oh, my brother, who's just going to community college, not doing crap, you know what I mean, messing around." I gave my brother's name. So we get home and we dropped off. I get in the house, open the door, living on Riverside Drive. Telephone's ringing. I know it's my father, because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, right? By the 20th ring or so, I picked up the phone and said, "Yeah, Dad." He said, Sonia, why don't you just stop this? You have an education. You don't have to get out in the streets like this. I said, "That's why I get out in the streets, because I do have an education, goddammit." You know, oh, it's a shame, you know. And he said, "I just want you to stop this. You're going to get killed. You realize you almost got killed today?" And I said, "Yes, I do." I said, "But people are getting killed in the South, doing much more than I." And I said, "But by the way, tell Wilson to report to blah, blah, blah." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, Wilson could get into the union." Then it changed. I tell you. My father said, "You mean a job?" I said, "Yeah, like the..." I said, "The electrical union." I said, I put him down because Wilson loved doing stuff like that, you know. He was always fixing wires and stuff, right? I come with the voice of the praiser. I come with the voice of the poet. I come to you to praise this man who gave us his eyes and whose show became perennial, who piloted us into the slow bloodstream of America, and we tagged behind, walking on tiptoes, heard his words like jazz, like blues, like seculars, agitating, keeping us on the edge of ourselves, breathing in our own noise, and we became small miracles. Something underneath your hands, Langston man. Something mighty, something human, something radical in your hands, accenting our blue flesh, observing us in a familiar city called Harlem, New York, the world, where we returned as birth, blood, water, death, where we became traveling men and women, turning corners, moving like black trains across the country, landless men and women, immortal in our moving, living with nothing, dying from everything. So much life coursing through your pages, man. So many vacancies filled by your eyes, man. So listen, gentle men, gentle women. Pull your hearts out of your armpits. Get your tuxedos out of mothballs. Put your long red dress on, girl, and snap your breasts into place as we go down. Well, I went into Hunt at 16, and I was like, you know, very happy to be there. And after 2 years, I was very disillusioned with Hunter. I mean, I never saw me in anything that went on at Schomburg. I said, "What is the Schomburg?" Now, I'm a graduate
right at Hunter College. Never heard of the Schomburg. I knew all the libraries. I lived in libraries. And I knocked on the door, and she opened the door. I said, what kind of library is this? She said, this is a library that has books only by and about black folks. And I said at 19 and a half, there must not be many books in here. Whoa. Don't let. And then I was at NYU and I looked in the catalog, and I always was looking for a course. And there was a guy in that workshop at the end said, you. He chose 7 of us. He said, let's meet. Because we couldn't afford to take another class. It cost too much money there. And we met in the village for 3 years. But it was during the time I was in a workshop that I published my first poem. But from there, sometimes we would go over to the 5 Spot. And I walked into the 5 Spot, and right by the door was Leroy Jones sitting with his hat, sitting AC/DC, smoking French cigarette, drinking Boilermakers, writing reviews for Downbeat. I was coming in last, and I was walking. He said, Sanchez. And my body stuttered, and I turned. I said, yeah. He said, send me some poetry. I'm editing a book coming out of France. And I literally jumped, and we sat down. People said, wow, that's Leroy Jones. Baraka reads everything, so he knew all the black poets evidently who were poeting.
But my memory of it is that one night she came into the Black Arts is when I remember when we had first set up the Black Arts Repertory School. She came in there and told me she was a poet and she had some poetry. And I said, okay, it's good, and she was a little young person, and I guess I was too, and and seemed like she was ready to get down with what we were doing.
Words hip the sun. God is your son. Create genius, which is the spirit of truth and beauty. Make hands, a scale. Learn to talk, to wipe your mouth, and which hole to use so the baby come out. Leave the growling, teeth-heavy carnivores, the beasts. The beasts, the wizards of bite and chew.
Where are the forks of peace? Where are the knives of peace? Where are the spoons of peace? Where are the eyes of peace? Where are the hands of peace? Where are the tongues of peace? Where are the children of peace? Where are you? 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 Where are you?
And look at you looking cool. Yeah, well, that's the way it is.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Okay. Peace. What is it? Is it an animal, a bird, a plane? Is it a verb, a noun, an adjective circling our paragraph lines? Do da 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 ba ba. Do da 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 ba ba.
Ooh. Some things must be like the world, the real one, where we all is as memory or slick features passing through the night.
When Baraka came out to San Francisco and we read up at Hunter's Point the first time, Baraka and I get on stage and we start the dialogue back and forth like boom, boom, boom. And we're from the East. We know we're some bad people. We fat. We dope. We going da 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 da. And he smiled and said, but da 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 da. And I said, yeah. Some guy up front said, what they doing? And there's that poetry, I think. He said, oh yeah, well let's get out of here. And he got up right sitting in front of us. And and the next time, 1 year later, we did same thing, 1,000 people. That was the work we had to do. Du Bois said the cause of war is the preparation of war. I say the cause of peace must be the preparation of peace. I say the cause of peace must be the preparation of peace. Blah, 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 blah. Dudley Randall did a book after Malcolm was assassinated called For Malcolm. You didn't talk about Malcolm. See, people are such revisionists. I listen to people, who say, oh, I just love Malcolm. Oh, I just loved him. Oh, I just loved him. And I want to say, sucker, yeah, right. People wouldn't call Malcolm's name. You know that. We all went, and people most of all the people who were in corps, I can't say all the people, at least the people with me, standing on the island in front of the Hotel Teresa, they jumped down and said, we're not going to listen to this stuff. But something made me stay there, you know, and I just listened. I remember standing on that island, looking up at this man, and I got up on him before the FOI looked down, you know, and I said, Mr. Malcolm X, I said, I don't agree with everything you say. And he looked down, and those eyes, oh God. Those eyes were the most gentle eyes. And then he gave that very wry smile that he did, that he didn't show his teeth. And then he said, one day you will, my sister, one day you will. And he was gone. And I just stood, I did not move. I just stood there. I was mesmerized, you know. And for years after he died, what people don't understand, I would read I kept reading my Malcolm poem. I would start sessions with my Malcolm poem, and a couple of people would walk out. Do not speak to me of martyrdom, of men who died to be remembered on some parish day. I don't believe in dying, though I too shall die, and violets like castanets will echo me. Yet this man, this dreamer, thick-lipped with words, will never speak again. And in each winter, when the cold air cracks with frost, I'll breathe his breath and mourn my gun-filled nights. He was the sun that tagged the western sky and melted tiger scholars while they searched for stripes. He said, forget you, white man. We have been curled too long. Nothing is sacred now, not your white face, nor any land that separates until some voices squat with spasms. Do not speak to me of living. Life is obscene with crowds of white on black. Death is my pulse. What might have been is not for him or me, but what could have been floods the womb until I drown.
Keeping company with the layaway man. Been keeping company with the layaway man. Each time he come by, we do it on the installment plan. Every Saturday night, he come walking up to my door. Every Saturday night, he come walking up to my door. Empty pockets hanging right on down to the floor. Gonna get me a man who pays for it in front. Gonna get me a man who pays for it in front. Gonna get me a man who pays for it in front, cause when I need it, when I need it, can't wait till the little next month. Go on.
All right. With a layaway man.
Go on. Yeah.
Next month.
Been keeping company with the layaway.
But you make us proud, you know, just being who you are, being young, understanding what goes on in the world. And that's important to us all. So it's good seeing you. You're looking good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. I taught altogether 35 years at various universities. Well, the joy about teaching, there was always a duel that I had between writing and teaching. The joy about teaching is that you encountered people. I've taught thousands and thousands of students. The joy of encountering people, young people who come in, who want to know something about their history and herstory, who want to know how to master the craft of writing, who want to learn the craft of living also too. You resist recolonizing your mind, resist. We went to a place called San Francisco State to begin Black Studies, and I didn't truly understand the scope of Black Studies. I mean, resist. I thought I'm going to go to San Francisco and teach literature and creative writing. Resist. One Wednesday when I was off from school, there was a knock on my door. It was my landlord who said, Professor Sanchez, these two men want to see you. Mind, mind, resist, resist, resist. And the guy went in his pocket and took out and said, FBI. And I'll tell you how naive I was. I said, we lived 2 blocks from Haight-Ashbury, and I thought there was something always going down there with the hippies, right? There were always police cars and stuff down there. And I said, is something going on Haight-Ashbury? And he said, you're teaching Du Bois, Garvey, Wright, Hughes. And he did this litany of names, right? And I'll tell you how naive I was, right? I said, yes, you cannot teach black literature without Du Bois, Garvey. You can't do I'm explaining to this man, you can't do the Harlem Renaissance without Garvey. You know, you can't do before the Harlem Renaissance without Du Bois and his contribution. He was the greatest scholar, you know, that America has produced in the 20th century, right? You cannot do poetry in the Harlem Renaissance, you know, without Garvey and Langston Hughes, right? And then after that, you can't approach the 1940s without Richard Wright. Resist, resist, resist.
I'm gonna treat everybody right till I die. Come, come. You standing still in domestic bacteria. Come, come. You standing still in double-breasted belongings. Come. I say come and return to the fight. This fight for the earth. This fight for our children. This fight for our life. We need your hurricane voice. You need your sacred hands to say come. Sister, brother, I say come to the battlefield, come into the rainforest, come into the hood, come into the barrio, come into the schools, come into the abortion clinics, come into the prisons, come and caress our spies. I say come, wrap your feet around justice. I say come, wrap your tongues around truth. I say come, wrap your hands with deeds and prayer. You brown ones, you yellow ones, you black ones,
You gay ones, you white ones, you lesbian ones. I say come, 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 come to the battlefield called life. I say come, 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 come to this battlefield called life, life, life. I say come, 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 come to this battlefield called life, 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 life.
Get your soldiers on the street, get off the floor, get on your feet, come follow me. You wanna be the F, the R, the double E. I say to a game of lame, but either way I know who I am. Like Hoops can say my name ain't Kobe, call me Vin Race. Mr. Man, give us a spree like 10K high. Take my freedom, freedom and weak, but now take my freedom, 6 feet deep. Learn how to read while you was sleeping. Wrote a note to your wife, Master was cheating while I was beating. Hands tied to a tree, we both were breathing, but the tree was speaking, teaching me to hold on tight to freedom. First freedom of the mind, then body believing. When you free your brain from chains, platinum, iron, and lead, it's like you're roasting the dead. It's like you're roasting your bed. It's like you still starving, starving. It's only a head. Not yet won't be made to be locked in by slavery.
Dudley had a press that was just unbelievable. So he had 6 major poets in Broadside Press: Hakeem, Nikki, Etheridge, Gwen finally came on, Audrey also at one point, and myself. And so I did 4 books with Dudley. I am dreaming. I have spread my dreams out like wings. I have selected today a dream about flying, and I take off sailing on your blue smile, for today it is enough. All this year, I have heard my pores opening. All this year, I have heard my pores opening. I have heard my pores opening. I have told you my name. I have told you my name. So there is tomorrow. So there is tomorrow. See me. See me. See me through your own eyes. See me. See me through your own eyes. I am here. I am here. I am here. Let us be one with the earth. expelling anger. Let us be one with the earth, expelling anger. Spirit unbroken, spirit unbroken. We are only passing. We are only passing through. Let us touch. Let us touch. Let us touch. Let us touch. Come.
Mungu Marani's father was a person that I hooked up with when we went to San Francisco State to start Black Studies, and he was one of the people out there, working. I don't think I have the right to talk about his problems, at that point, just to say that, that it didn't work out because he had not figured out how to treat Black women, and so as a consequence, we broke up. I got married again, and I married the poet Etheridge Knight, who was a great poet. He'd gotten caught up on drugs from being in the service, and then he'd been in a place where he couldn't really get drugs, and he thought that he was free of them, but he came out and he wasn't. I can say to you that I have finished my second manuscript and Etheridge tore it up. What does that mean? To say that he wasn't a good writer? To say that he wasn't a human being, right? But I had to reconstruct my second manuscript, but I do know that when he did that, something clicked in me that said, Sonia, are you insane? People in our business took sides when I left Etheridge, because Etheridge said I was not going to leave. It became really violent. And so that's when I came home to New York, and he had taken everything that you could possibly take, all the way from bank accounts, whatever, etc. I had no money, was really broke, but I kept trying to work it out with him because he was a good person, because he didn't need to have been sent to war and come back, with a Jones. So when Etheridge became ill with cancer, he would call, and so I began to talk to Etheridge about all the funny things that we did, and some good times that we had, and some crazy times when he came in and I came home and nothing was in the house practically, and we both laughed because I could laugh at it because that was not the case now. And then I leaned over and whispered into his ears, and I said, my dear brother, please forgive me anything that I did to you. And I forgive you, all the things that you did to us as a family.
You keep saying you were always there, waiting for me to see you. You said that once on the wings of a pale green butterfly, you rode across San Francisco's hills and touched my hair as I caressed a child called militancy. You keep saying you were always there, holding my small hand as I walked on bending Indiana streets and I could not see around. And you grew a black mountain of curves, and I turned and became soft again. You keep saying you were always there, repeating my name softly as I slept in slow Pittsburgh blues. And you made me sweat night dreams that danced and danced until the morning rain, your red delirium. You keep saying, I need. You were always there. You keep saying you were always there. Will you stay, love? Now that I am here, you keep saying you were always there. You keep saying you were always there. Will you stay, love, now that I am here now? that I am here. You keep saying you were always there. You keep saying you were always there. Will you stay, love? Will you stay, love? Will you stay, love? Now that I am here. Now that I am here. I came back home to my father's, actually, before I had got a house up in the Bronx, and we stayed there. And so my father would say, well, you have these children with these art names, right? You can't even pronounce these names, Mungu and Morani, you know. Why don't you just give them good American names, right? So that was one part of contention there. The other part is that I had, you know, being involved in the movement, I'm coming back home ragged, you know, with no money, you know, no job, you know, and looking for a teaching job at that particular point. And so he's saying, see what happens, see what happens, see what happens when you're involved with all that black stuff, you know.
We are here because if we are to live, we must organize and work and walk in solidarity to return the world from the inhumanitarians to the humanitarians. We are here because Africans and Latinos and Asians and Native Americans are starving and dying in Somalia, Uganda, El Salvador, Ethiopia, the Cameroons, Mississippi, Nicaragua, Harlem, the reservations, refugees all. We are here because every 3 days, 120,000 children die of starvation or the effects of starvation. We are here because of the children of Atlanta, the rise of racism on college campuses, the detention of young brothers and sisters in South Africa. Listen to their cries, my brothers and sisters. Ah, mama, 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 baba, 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 baba. They have me in this detention center and I am hurt. They are hurting me and all I wanted to do was to march against anti-apartheid. Oh, mama, mama, baba, baba, come, help me. They have buried my comrades here in the jail and nobody...
I just didn't write a haiku for Ennis. I wrote it for Bill and Camille because I was on the phone talking to Toni Morrison and the screen came on saying they thought Ennis Cosby had been in the car, right? And we had just been at the Cosby's house for an anniversary dinner celebration. And I put Toni on hold and I called the house. And the gentleman who works for them, I said, is it true? That's all I said. And he said, yes, Miss Sanchez, it's true. Do you want to speak to her? I said, too many people will be calling now. I'll send her something. And what I sent her the 3 haiku that I had done for Brother Ennis. 3 haiku for Bill and Camille Cosby and for Ennis. My bones migrate in red noise, pinched wings, they stream white ashes. But I am left with flesh that hangs like yellow sails. Hear my voice knocking. My bones hang together like pinched dragonflies, shake loose my skin. We tend sometimes, when we see young brothers making it or making a statement, we don't always necessarily rise to the occasion to grab them, to hold them, to keep them sane. And so sometimes we tend not to protect our children, most especially our male children. You know, we don't bring them within that circle of what I call malehood that says, you are my son, so I'm going to make sure you survive because your mother gave her blood for this movement, so I'll make sure. So we tend sometimes not to understand the need. We just shrug them off and say simply, well, if that's what he wants to say, then let him say it. No, that might be what he's saying right now, but we've got to be there to bring within the circle, this circle of blackness, this circle of activism, this circle that says, of manhood that says, you are our son. We will protect you and guide you. For Tupac Amaru Shakur, who goes there? Who is this young man born lonely? Who walks there? Who goes towards death, whistling through the water without his chorus, without his posse, without his song? It is autumn now in me, autumn grieves. In this carved gold of shifting phases, my eyes confess to the fatigue of living. I ask, does the morning weep for the dead? I ask, were the bullets conscious atoms entering his chest? I ask, did you see the light anointing his life? The day I heard the sound of your death, my brother, I walked outside in the park. We, your mothers, wanted to see you safely home. I remembered the poems in your mother's eyes as she, panther lace, warred against the state. The day you became dust again, we, your mothers, held up your face, green with laughter, and I saw you a child again, outside your mother's womb, picking up the harsh handbook of black life. The day you passed into our ancestral rivers, we, your mothers, listened for your intoxicating voice, and I heard you sing of tunes bent back in a cold curse against black, get back, against black.
My brother and I were, athletes. We played every sport in the world. So there was a lot of balance in our home. I mean, you had to read, but she also made sure she got us to every soccer game, every baseball game. There was the game, and the umpire didn't show up. There were all these men, older men, and no one wanted to umpire.
One of the fathers decided to umpire, and when his son got up and he called his son some strikes on his son, the son got upset, so the father just retired, said, I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
And so the coach said, well, then I guess we'll have to call the game. And I said, no, I'll umpire.
I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, Mom, please. So I would have, friends in Philadelphia, please call strikes and balls accurately. So I'm so nervous. I'm like, please. And finally, I get up to bat, and she will fight me on this to this day. And the first pitch came over, it was too high, but she called a strike, and I'm looking at my mom like, Mom. And finally, I got a hit. So I had 2 strikes, right? 2 strikes, and I'm sitting there like, Mom, that was not a strike. And she's looking at me like, boy, you better hit that ball.
That's right, exactly.
I'm about to call you out. So finally, the next pitch, I got a base hit, and I got the first base, and I was like, Mom, wait till we get over.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sonia Sanchez. Dream of a land my soul is from. My weary hand stroke on a drum. Shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as night, Afro bloom.
It was the coming. It was the coming that was bad. It was the coming across the ocean that was bad. It was the coming. It was the coming that was bad. It was the packing horse and ships that was bad. It was the packing horse and ships that was bad. It was the coming. It was the coming. It was the crossing. It was the crossing. It was the crossing. It was the crossing that was bad.
Elegant dancing for joy, delicate whirl, shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as a night, afro blue.
It was the raping that was bad. It was the raping that was bad. It was the raping. It was the raping. It was the raping that was bad. It was the silence, the noise, the silence, the noise, the silence, the noise, the silence, the noise, the noise.
Two young lovers are face to face with undulating grace. They gently sway, then slip away to some secluded place. Shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as a night, afro blue.
It was the landing that was bad. It was the landing that was bad. It was the landing that was bad. It was the standing, the standing auction blocks. It was bad. It was the standing auction blocks. Don't touch me, please. All alone. Oh yeah, all alone. It was the standing that was bad. It was the standing. It was the giving birth that was bad. It was the giving birth that was bad. It was the giving birth. If not months.
Whispering trees echo their sighs, passionate pleas, tender replies, shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as the night, afro blue.
Mother, Baba, they know what they do here, do there. You want to know who I am? I want to know who I am. Can't you see who I am? Can't you see who I am? Don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am? Can't you see who I am?
Lovers in flight, upward they glide, birth at the height, slowly subside, shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as a night, afro blue.
Whatever I remember, I forget. Whatever I forget, I remember. Whatever I don't want to remember, I forget. Whatever I want to forget, I remember. I'm here, they're here. I am here, they're here. I am here. Love. What is it? Love. You don't know. We know.
And my slumbering fantasy assumes reality until it seems it's not a dream. The two are you and me, shades of delight, cocoa hue, rich as a night, afro blue.
It was the coming that was bad. It was the coming that was bad. Across oceans, across seas, across eyes, staring. It was the coming, dying, living, dying, living, dying, living, coming, living. How to live, African, how to live, white, how to live, Latino, how to live, Native Americans, how to live, Asians, how to live, gays, how to live, lesbians, how to live, Jews, how to live, Muslims, how to live, Chicanos, how to live, African Americans, how to live, love, live, love, live, love, live, love, how to live.
From my mother, and if I could pass it on to any young men and young women, is that we've got to learn what it means to be human, and that's the most important thing. That we struggle for social justice, And we struggle to change the world, but we struggle to make it a more human place. And that's the most important lesson that you can give anyone, you know. And that's what I would pass on to young people. That's why we do the work.
You know what it taught me? All those times I moved. You can live any place on this earth, my brother. As long as you have a tool or skill, and as long as you open yourself up to the universe and you open yourself up to students, say, I'm here to teach you and love you and protect you, you know, and they will open up to you also too, and that's what I did.
My birth, now as I move, mouth quivering with silks, my skin runs soft with eyes. Descending into my legs, I follow obscure birds, purchasing orthopedic wings. The air is late this summer. I peel the spine and flood the earth with adolescence. Oh, who will pump these breasts? I cannot waltz my tongue under a soprano sky. A woman sings. Lovely as chandeliers under a soprano sky. A woman sings. Lovely as chandeliers. Lovely as chandeliers.
Let me wear the day well, so when it reaches you, you will enjoy it.